Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Dan. And we welcome to the studio today for the very first time, Jakob Nowell. He's from Jakobs Castle, and now he's taking over his father's legacy, fronting genre-blending SoCal legendary band Sublime. Genuinely one of the greatest bands to ever exist.
It's all true.
It's true.
All true.
Hello, Jakob Nowell.
Yo.
What up?
You're talking about acid.
Love acid. Yeah, it's really great thing.
But I hear like the rule on shrooms, right? It's like an intention-based thing. So like who you're around and where your head's at, it matters in the trip.
I mean, hell, there's all sorts of crazy, psycho knowledge out there from ancient wisdom passed down from the hippies who are eating mountains of fry nonstop. So who really knows at the end of the day? But yeah, I think it was Tim Leary that said, mindset and setting, it's really important. You could have like the worst trip ever and not mean to be having it. And then you look back and be like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have hung out with all those people who were, really weird, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, while I went to school or to work or to a baseball game or wherever people accidentally take fry. But yeah, dude, it's we were mentioning that earlier because we were talking about time and place is everything in life. I guess acid does teach you a lot of things.
How are you doing? Genuinely, like
in this moment?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm an open book, dude. Not good, man. I just had to put a cat down. He was my first pet, my best friend. He was like 4 years old. And then some personal, like family sort of ups and downs. I mean, who doesn't deal with that? So I think it's important when you go through difficult stuff to just really feel it. And I mask in my own ways, as I think we all do, to deal with trauma. But part of that is just, wearing it on my sleeve and just being like, man, I'm just feeling a lot of stuff right now. It's nice to do stuff like this that contribute towards work and my career and that sort of thing, because it does take me out of it. But when I'm at home, it's easy to just sort of crash and be like, oh man, I'm not doing enough. I need to be doing more because, yeah.
Interesting. You really feel that? Like, I mean, dude, you have a lot going on. You're working on an entirely new album. You just released a single. Like,
I know. We were just in Alaska for Jakobs Castle playing a show up at Salmon Fest, this festival out in Alaska. So I was like, my schedule is really pretty full, but I just keep thinking like, oh man, if I was just making one more connection or driving to one more place or, finalizing one more thing or crossing another thing off my list, then I could get a little bit further. I don't know where that comes from.
Where are you looking to get? When you say further towards where and what direction?
Like at the very, very end goal?
I mean,
like I hope to be like one of those like, eventually we'll be able to live for like hundreds of years and we'll be like some sort of like cyborg AI integrated thing, like some kind of like space wizard, like in a craft, like ruling over a sector of the solar system, hopefully. But to get to that point, I got to send more emails, dude. Like, I'm never going to get to be, galactic benevolent overlord if I don't, if I can't just get, figure out the small stuff. And I think it's more like, if I'm not hard on myself, then who will be?
I get that.
Then who else will? But I definitely do see myself, things increasing over the future. I just want to keep my options open and continue to entertain,
Is a part of that keeping Sublime around for as long as humanly possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the name's back and bigger than ever. And there's so much interest in my father's project. So I feel really lucky and honored that I get to be, have this custodial duty to the band and to help out my uncles so they can continue to play shows together in a way that feels cool and makes sense. And, it's really not about me at the end of the day when it comes to the Sublime thing. To me, it feels like a duty. Like, of course I have to do this and pay homage. And through doing it, I get a huge benefit out of it. I have, a whole new platform that I would have never had before. So it makes sense to me in many different ways, but I do see the band and the brand continuing to grow. But it's definitely not the only thing I want to be doing with my time. That's for sure.
How is the reception from this latest single? I mean, first new record in 30 years.
Oh, man,
and
yeah.
people love it.
Dude, it has been so heartwarming, like, really, because we're always our own worst critic, and I try to be, a hard critic on myself without being melancholy or fishing for compliments or being too hard on yourself. There's a $1 bill underneath your chair. I'm sorry. It's going to bug me the whole rest of the interview.
Do you want it?
Yeah. I need, I was going to go get like a coffee after this. No, I'm kidding.
There's no free baristas or anything. We'll give it to you.
It's just so rad, yeah. Put it by the Trolls doll. The lucky Troll doll.
Grab it on your way out.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and service here today.
Thank you for your cervix. But yeah, man, it's definitely been wonderful that people have enjoyed the new music that we're making, because my whole goal was to just try to really reach back into what excites, I think, the younger generation about the sound of Sublime, and to see if we could do something similar.
Can you break that down? Like, what do you think this generation loves about what your dad made back decades ago?
Well, what's really exciting to be part of a project like Sublime is that it is multi-generational, truly in a way that you don't see with, I mean, a lot of their contemporaries, which, by the way, I love. My favorite era of music is, mid to late 90s, early 2000s. That's like my era I grew up with. So, of course, I'm very influenced by that. But with even like bands like, I don't know, like Nine Inch Nails or, I don't know, Cake or Primus or whatever, like, those are some contemporaries I think of when I think of Sublime. Other alternative, unique genre blending bands that don't really have equals in their unique sound. That's how I compare Sublime up against bands like that. But a lot of those bands will get stuck with this very, like, smoky, heady, older fan base, gatekeepy, kind of like the Frozen Chosen, like, no, this is not real punk rock or not real, enter genre there. And Sublime definitely has its fair share of that, where we could release something that is totally left field and sounds nothing like it. They'll be like, this is nothing like Sublime. Or we could release something that's exactly like it. They'll be like, this is too close to Sublime. There's some people who will never be pleased, is my point. However, what makes Sublime exciting is that instead of being majority, gatekeepy weirdos, it is 99% not that. It's 99% very eclectic, diverse, people from all over the world, people of all ages, people continually discovering this stuff, and people who want new people to discover this stuff and have fun with this music, that this unique sound that, while doesn't take itself too seriously, is also somehow very deep and impactful and meaningful on an emotional and familial level. So when I go and try to write new Sublime music, or it's weird, those words even coming out of my mouth, like I feel like not worthy, like it does, you almost shouldn't touch an old catalog like that. But, we made this, we opened Pandora's box and did the unthinkable, and we just had to try our best. So I think, like, okay, when a young person, let's say a 16 to 21-year-old person, is being handed their Sublime CD or shown a single, or in a car with their older brother or sister or parents even, and they're being shown, like, hey, this is cool music from our local area. What are they keying into? What sounds are they hearing? What are the, the signifying noises that make you think I'm in Sublime time right now?
That's what I was really wondering. Like, do you go through a period where you just really examine deeply everything from your dad's catalog, demos, and release, to just understand the mechanics and the through lines of sound, right? Like, it's crazy to say because you're carrying on something, but what is that process really like?
It's intuitive, but at the same time, it's purposeful, When I was younger, my Uncle Miguel, who was also in the band Sublime, a lot of people don't know that. He was like the secret fourth member. But Michael Happel, man, he told me that you need to study the book very carefully, and then you got to burn it when you're done. Kind of like the Book of the Law, the Aleister Crowley little fucking book or whatever. You have to study it very carefully, and then when you get to the end of it, you need to burn it. So I never understood what the fuck he was talking about. Can we say fuck on this show?
Yes, but it
well, then fuck.
But it is
big horse cock.
But in that moment, it's the merging of what you've learned and then yourself, right? That's why you burn it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think part of that is trusting in your instincts in the end, but only after you have really done your work and purpose. I think so many of us grow up with this era. I guess I'll speak for my generation, the fucking Gen Z-lennials or whatever I am. There was all these like boy genius shows growing up. There's like Jimmy Neutron and Dexter's Lab and all this stuff. And I think it contributes to this unconscious desire, or rather unconscious idea, that you need to be this effortless talent. Like, you need to be this, I was born with this talent, otherwise why bother? So a lot of people think that if I don't just have it like right out the gate, then I shouldn't try to increase it via, tutelage or whatever. And it can be really disheartening for people. Like, well, no, this is my natural talent. I don't need to be influenced by this or that. Whereas if you look back into like Renaissance times or whatever, the times where people consider themselves to be the most educated of all time. You know, before you were even allowed to write your own poetry, you had to perfectly imitate the works of Homer. Only then, after writing like a perfect epic poem, can you even hope to like, you know, write your own, because you know what you're commenting on. Like, whether we like it or not, there is, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years of stuff that's already happened artistically that you are interacting with daily, whether you know it or not. So to do my due diligence, I have to go back and very diligently, you know, understand everything about the Sublime catalog to the best of my ability.
Is most of your knowledge learned in that moment when you're studying, or is it acquired over your entire life?
Oh, it's both, definitely. I always think of the Mark Twain analogy, how, you know, he was a kid and he was like fascinated by like the river, right? There's the Mississippi and it's this magical thing. This all this symbolic of all this adventure. Of course, you dedicate your life to it. And then
That's your dad, no?
and yeah, in a lot of ways, I get, you know, because then Mark Twain said once he learned the river and he became this riverboat master and dedicated his life, he knew every rock and every stream, and it lost its magic or something. And there's probably a lot more to that idea or quote, but people kind of stop there and think like, oh no, you don't want to overanalyze and overlearn something or you'll ruin the magic. But I don't think that's true necessarily. I think you discover new magic, and we're only limited by our own imagination. You got to dream bigger.
I want to get into the lyrics of this record because they are very much...
I wish I had a guitar. I'd play you guys some new ones, man.
Really?
Yeah, of course, because there's a bunch of... I can't wait.
Guitar around here.
I'm really bad at spoiling stuff, so I'll spoil all of it because it's that fun. Yeah, it's like an 18-track record.
Whoa.
I just got new mixes a couple days ago.
Are they all net new, or how much of it is going back into the catalog and bringing back demos or whatever?
I don't want to reveal too much or spoil the imaginative experience for the listener. I will say it's a Sublime record. I will say that in every sense of the word, meaning we could not have made it without the endless vault of unreleased material.
Ensenada sounds like the perfect continuation of this group. Like it didn't even skip a beat. It's crazy. It fits in the catalog.
Oh, it means so much, dude.
It is both nostalgic yet present and so representative of what your dad created. It's crazy.
Thank you, man. That really means a lot to hear. You really think that?
Thank you.
I
I know it, but I've also talked to people who, dude, we're in Southern California, right? You go afoot, you meet 3 people who have been formed by this band, and everybody who found out that you were coming in today has brought this up to me. So it's
really?
more than just me.
That's so cool. It's
It's
really
the
on the
general
radio.
feeling.
Yeah, we've done that old school campaign, and you know, people are responding to it. It feels really good. This one was a fun one to do for the first single, as sort of a contrast to Feel Like That, which is a single that we did with our friend Stick Figure, in many using unreleased, you know, vocals from my father. And I think in a lot of ways that was like a cool thing to do because that song is a Stick Figure song, really, first and foremost. It feels like that kind of, I hate saying like white boy reggae, but you know, you could say like Cali reggae, you know, the festival reggae kind of vibe, the new wave of it. I think that was our goodbye to that sound as a band, because for so long, the SWR era of Sublime, that was their method, was to go in and you know, bear the torch in that world. But you know, me, Bud, and Eric, and our co-collaborators have no interest in that sound, and it was sort of like a, you know, it spawned off of something that spawned off of Sublime. People say Sublime started that sound, but really, Sublime inspired Slightly Stupid, which inspired a lot of other smaller bands, which inspired that. So you know what I mean? So we wanted to go back and be like, okay, Sublime was just this interesting, eclectic, alternative West Coast 90s band that utilized all these different sounds. Let's stay there and continue in that direction. Obviously, reggae was part of the formula, but so was hip-hop. And first and foremost, Sublime's a punk rock band in my head. Like, their approach to everything. Lyrically, like in a song like Ensenada, it can still have that same tempo and groove as a reggae song, but then I feel like the lyrics can't just be about like, you know, hanging out with your sweetheart and smoking weed down by the beach. There's a time and place for that, but that's why the lyrics are a little bit more irreverent. You know, we say whore and strippers.
I don't want to be your man no more. I want to make love to a whore. Ensenada on my mind.
Who among us?
Whoa.
Who among us? I'm just kidding. And it's ironic. It's supposed to be a little, I hope people catch that too, that, you know, it's not necessarily literally you want to do that, or maybe it is. I mean, it's up to, I don't want to spoil anybody's fun or good times listening to music. I think that, you know, once you write it, it's out there and people can decide what the hell it's about. And then it was up to you. You had your chance before that to write it. If we had 100 more, you know, rewrites, that would be my perfect world as a writer, but I think that would be against the spirit of Sublime.
Ensenada is like, it means a cove or an inlet. How does that even apply to the story
town
you're
in
telling?
Mexico.
Yeah,
both.
good. Yeah, that is what the word actually means, and yes, it's in reference to a city in Mexico where they had this surf contest nearby back in '95, I want to say, or '94, '96. And Sublime went down there and played this cool show on the beach, and the footage of that happening was called Mexico Shithole, and it's kind of a small show. I mean, it's a big messy party, and they're just on the beach with their instruments, amplified. People are just coming up and jamming, and it's just crazy. And through listening to that, we were just like, oh, that's what inspired us to write Ensenada.
But that's the right way to be inspired, like to take what was and create something that is.
Exactly.
It's like, that's remarkable.
Thank you so much, man. I'm so happy people are vibing with it like that. Because to me, I'm like, oh, just wait till they hear the rest of the record.
Yeah, you're putting in the passionate work and time and effort and nuances and like the little details are what matter.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Because for me, first and foremost, I always consider myself like an entertainer, and a writer. You know, so for me, this was challenging to take the gig of playing for Sublime and now writing Sublime songs as well is a huge challenge in that regard. This is a beloved, 90s property, like a lifestyle for a lot of people. So I just want people to know that at the very least, if you hate everything we did, at the very, very least, trust me, I take this very seriously. This is a band that is obviously very close to my heart familially, but even if I wasn't related to the guy and I was just a singer that got asked to do it, this is something that I take deathly serious. You can never replace the original singer of a band like Sublime, and you can never replace the original spirit. All we seek to do is tribute to that era and hopefully add to people's experiences.
But is there no part of you that really feels like your dad lives within you? No, do you not channel any part of this human being that yes, you maybe didn't get a chance to know, but you've definitely come to know over time?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I think we all do, whether we know it or not. Even I mean, how many times have maybe you guys all laughed a certain way or said a certain phrase, and then one of your relatives was like, "Oh, that's just like your mother or your father."
I catch myself sounding like my fucking dad.
Yeah, right?
All the time, and being around him, you hear it. We are those people, whether we're around them or not. It's within us.
And I had people to teach me the way. I think that's the beautiful, whether we're living in cities or in or in caves a million years ago. When you have people around you to carry on the torch of those lost loved ones who are no longer with us, I think a trace of them is left behind that will rub off on you and activate that person in you within your own DNA, spiritually or physically or both. Real. All my uncles carried a piece of him and shared with me, and then by proxy, I can learn what their humor was, what his humor was like, and how he would approach things. And through my grandparents, I hear stories about what he was like as a kid. So all of those things inform into me how I get to be as an entertainer, as a writer, as a performer, and as a human being. So I've come to the realization that I'm just so insanely proud to be my father's son.
I mean, when you say your dad created a lifestyle, it's no bullshit. Millions and millions and millions of people back in the 90s, 80s, whenever, they really attached themselves to this lifestyle, and they still live it today.
They do, man. Just take a step outside and, in San Diego and in Long Beach, in different parts of Orange County and all along the coast and all around the country and the world at large now. You can see it happening. I mean, I think he was the voice of something that was already happening, agnostic of them or their sound, and it just sort of fit hand in hand really good. Yeah.
Did you always know that one day you'd want to take this over, though? Or is this something that was kind of presented to you?
No, I never wanted to do it.
You didn't?
No. This was sacrilege.
So
I'm walking a very dangerous line that constantly sort of haunts me, but I have to temper that feeling of dread and expectation with the knowledge that we're not curing cancer here. We're writing rock and roll music. We're playing shows. It's very important to people, and I take that part very seriously. But I try not to take myself too seriously, if that makes any sense. I have a lot of fun doing this, and it gives me an insane amount of purpose. But no, stepping into this role, I mean, it's not very often done by people in my position, because I think your whole life you're already in this shadow, and how do you eclipse that? How does a second son or a second son of a second son really distinguish themselves in a meaningful way in the face of true greatness. I have to find my own ways to be valid, I think. Because when you look back on a legend, especially one that's no longer with us, you're not going to out-mythologize the myth. You can't out-be, it's like Hercules competing against Zeus, dude. I'm not that god, He was an effortlessly incredible guitar player and singer and lyricist and entertainer. It's just you can't beat that. You know what I mean? So I don't look at it as just something to beat. My fight is, and my struggle will be outside of all of that. My way of getting past this, impossible dichotomy. It's sort of like the finger trap. The more you pull, the more it gets tighter. I had to push inward and sort of accept who I am and where I'm at. And the more I do that, the more I do come into my own and feel myself and his presence and be like, oh, this is me. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I realize that, it's not the only thing that I'm to do. I have to do this first before I can move on and into, my own projects or my own writing or TV work or acting or whatever the hell I end up doing in the next years of my life. I have to make sure Pops is taken care of and that people recognize that Sublime is the best fucking band to ever exist and LBC is the place to be.
How did you come to that realization, though?
Well, we talked about acid. No, I'm kidding.
You've been sober for a long time.
Yeah. I'm 8.5 years sober, yeah.
Wow. You should be very proud of that.
Thank you. I am very proud of that, yeah. And I don't know. It's just sort of happened organically. Obviously, I like to talk a lot, talk people's ears off. One of my favorite joys is having late night conversations with people. And I think there was a big moment when I went to go visit the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma where Sublime played their last show. I've talked about this sort of experience before. And that in concert with a bunch of different other things just made me realize it was time to take up the mantle. I felt like the impetus was on me and it was terrifying. It was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. In fact, I've had to undergo a lot of weird, fucked up, difficult stuff through my upbringing and childhood. I'm sure it's no contest for other people have gone through worse or less worse or whatever. It's not about that. But truly getting up there on stage for Coachella and being like, this is me officially joining my dad's band was one of the hardest walks I've had to take. It's only since then been eclipsed by the walk I had to take to put down my cat creature. That was harder. It was the only silver lining of that event was I was like, well, at least I've finally done something that was more difficult than that.
What made that day so difficult? Was it this idea that you were doing something that you had been steadfast against for quite some time? Was it the pressure that comes with it? Was it because really, since the second you picked up a guitar, you said that people had been telling you to join Sublime.
Yes, they have, for sure. It's a complicated mix of all those things. How am I supposed to feel? Which ways are correct to feel? There's all these people who have their opinions and they're weighing on me. I'm going to be weighed against greatness. Will I be able to stack up? Am I just fooling myself and wasting my time? Should I have done X, Y, or Z? But those trepidations don't serve you. I've made my choice. And sometimes you just have to be empty and go into the void like wind or whatever Guru Lahima says.
Do you lean on Bud and Eric, though, to help you with this transition? Because obviously, they knew your dad. You got their blessing to be a part of the band. What role did they play in you joining?
They're like family to me, man. Yeah, they're the old guard showing me the way. It's their band. This is not my band. Like, I don't ever feel like that. In fact, I think it's good if I never feel fully comfortable playing for Sublime.
Right?
Yeah.
God, because
I have to treat it like this is a gig. And again, I don't want people out there to take it like I'm like entitled or like, I don't know. That's my biggest fear. Like, I hate when people, because there's a lot of talk nowadays about industry plants and nepotism, nepo babies and all this stuff. And like, it's just, my experience has been very different than others. And again, not every artist needs to be like, I came up out the muck. I was digging in a coal mine for 18 hours a day, but I had this glorious voice and finally people heard it and I got famous. That's just not a real thing, dude. Like that doesn't happen. And my story wasn't like that. You know, we weren't starving or destitute, but there actually were difficult times growing up. And it was a crazy, drug-fueled household. And at times when there were money, just as quick, there are times when there weren't. And I had to undergo a lot of weird craziness growing up in San Diego. And there was no like, here's your uncle who's the music director at, at Interscope or whatever. You'd think it would be like that. And people hear that sometimes and they're like, no, bullshit. His dad was so big. This kid grew up loaded or whatever. And it's just not the case, dude. Like I had it a lot better than other people, I'm sure, but where the money and the stability was on my grandparents' side. They had made their money completely separate of all the Sublime stuff. So I had some family who had a little bit of that lifestyle, but we're talking more like just upper middle class or whatever. My parents, who I love and respect and would never disparage their name, I was exposed to a lot of dangerous, suggestive situations as a kid, which influenced me greatly. I mean, I moved out when I was 17, And when I did move out, and sorry for rambling on, but I'm going somewhere with this. When I did move out, I remember I couldn't wait to meet other kids who had gone through something similar. Meaning other kids who had, I guess you could say, famous parents who died. Or maybe who didn't die.
Where were you able to find those people?
Now I have recently, only since joining Sublime. I mean, before that, I don't think I ever really bumped into anybody. And so I was really excited to see like-minded individuals, but I was disappointed. And that's not to disparage those people. I wasn't disappointed in them. But what I found out is that people's experiences are varied. They're very varied. Just like anybody listening to this or anybody listening to Sublime, no two Sublime listeners are the same. Well, no two, kids of musicians are exactly the same. Their experience, you'll have one that is so happy to be in their position. What are you talking about? This is amazing. Or they completely uncritically just love it. Or some that completely resent it on every axiom. Or some that have been totally disinherited because of their actions. Or it's just every single thing. Or some that did grow when people say the Nepo kid, I think what they're thinking is like you grow up in LA, you go to all the parties, all the famous people, you get things unfairly handed to you when you don't have the talent to back it up. You're able to jump the line and skip the line in a lot of ways.
That's not your life.
Dude, I wish it was. I'm just as mad at you guys. Like I would have loved to have that experience. But, I've been toiling in obscurity in no-name bands for, 12 years before I joined Sublime. Sure, I could have, like you said, I'm sure there was the option to, hey, just come up and do this, but I was not ready. I was barely ready at Coachella, dude. I was just barely in my humble opinion, I think we could have used a couple more weeks of practice, and we did nothing but practice for weeks.
Yeah, but you having that awareness, dude, is...
Thank you.
Most people would have just jumped at an opportunity, regardless of them being ready, regardless of them paying their dues, regardless of them clocking 10,000 hours doing other types of shows.
Yeah, which I really think I did. So, and I don't mean to be overly defensive about that stuff, but I really don't bring it up for the sake of being defensive. Like, please don't. People can view me however they want. People's opinions of you is their business. It's none of my fucking business what people think about me. Who gives a shit at the end of the day? But I just say that because it's useful to the discussion to understand what's interesting about this story. Because when there are people in a similar position to me, I think that their conclusion is oftentimes wildly different what they choose to do. I mean, you can look at Jakob Dylan and the Wallflowers. From what I understand, he don't play Bob Dylan songs at those shows. You know what I mean? Like, and at a Jakobs Castle show, we'll play a shit ton of Sublime songs. I love keeping that alive for people. It doesn't offend me or be like, oh man, no one's gonna ever. I wouldn't even be doing music without my dad. So like, of course, I'm never going to be so separate from Long Beach and Sublime and my father, Bradley Nowell, because that would be disingenuous to who I am as an artist.
Why'd you want to play music to begin with?
My dad, absolutely. I really think that I've had a lot of other reasons that I've said in interviews before, but when I really get down to I really don't think I would have ever trended towards specifically music had it not been for my father. And that's just it. And that makes me insanely proud. I don't care if people Some people think I'm a good singer. Some people think I'm a good whatever. That's awesome. I'm not competing against my father. I'm not in that race. He's his own amazing entertainer, musician. I had first touched a guitar when I was a little kid because I knew that my dad had done it and he had died doing it. And for me, that was sacred. That was important. That was special. And I had found my own path naturally by heading down that road.
Your grandfather taught you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, when I was 12. I had watched the Tenacious D movie, so I was finally like, okay, teach me. I was really unteachable as a kid. Super unteachable. Most kids are hard. You know, you got to sit them down. I have ADHD and all that stuff. But it was advanced. Like, you could not get me to do shit. There was no, incentivizing me or treating me or whatever. I had to want it. And to get me to a place of wanting it was just an exercise in futility. But finally, I was like, okay, I'm ready to learn to sing and play guitar. Please teach me. And I remember when you first learn to play and everything hurts, putting your hands in the right place, it just feels like it doesn't make sense. And I got myself to a point where I was able to write songs, and that's basically where I stopped getting good at guitar. So if you're out there, don't stop learning new songs and drilling the drills, because keep getting better. Don't end up like me.
Who are you going to with this music? Who are you sharing it with to understand if you were good or not or on the right track?
For the new Sublime material?
No, even back in the day, writing it.
Yeah.
Even Jakobs Castles. Who did you go to for a barometer or opinion?
Oh, man, it's sort of tough to say. I mean, we all have friends. You start making music, you get other friends who write music, and you write with them. I think that's the natural way. And I think you just have to be really hard on yourself. You have to be sparing and, be charitable as well. It's like, when I first started living on my own and I was making my own money, I was working at Billings Paint and Hardware in Long Beach. Shout out to Doug Billings and Ace Hardware. I finally had my first pay. I had money. I had my own paycheck. Who'd have thought the fucking Nepo kid worked a day job? But I didn't have, no one was hooking me up. The first thought I had was, oh my God, I don't have a bedtime. No one's going to know if I brush my teeth, and I can eat donuts whenever the fuck I want, 24 hours a day. And they're only $1 for a donut. That was sick. So I would just eat donuts all the time. Same thing when you're finally writing on your own, and let's say, it's just time to make your own music. The equivalent of eating donuts all the time would be like being hard on yourself and never releasing anything because it's not the perfect, amazing masterpiece that, the scholars will talk about 1,000 years from now. You got to fucking nip that shit in the bud. You have to be hard on yourself, eat a little bit of donuts, but at the same time, allow yourself to grow and be charitable. So I think that was what allowed me to continue onwards in the path, is I would listen to all my favorite music. I'd listen to the styles that I'd like to emulate, and I'd try to emulate them perfectly. And then I would try to be as honest as I could about how close I was being. And part of that is you need people around you who are going to give you the fucking business and tell you, dude, that sucked. Or, dude, that was awesome. And believe them when they tell you.
By the way, very much attached to, we were talking earlier about how poets used to work. They would just repeat others' work until they figured it out. And people say that with that. Yeah, they say that with music, right? Copy and duplicate your favorites until you can figure it out on your own.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then you'll find how to add your own unique voice to that. There's a line between, imitation and, innovation.
Well, when you were going back to learn all these classic Sublime songs, was there anything you found surprising or challenging about learning the biggest hits?
Yes, totally. Santeria is a challenge for me to play.
Why is it the music or the vocal?
A little bit of both. I mean, it's a pretty simple song, so that might surprise people, and perhaps it is mental. Because I know it's the big hit and I want to do it good. But I think literally only recently was I able to do the song justice live. I admit that fully. And I mean really recently, my Warped Tour performance. That I was okay, now we're at least I'm in the ballpark of where I want to be. Because I'm constantly rating myself and that's why playing for Sublime is tough, dude. It's just different when it's your own music. I'm up there working a job, getting paid handsomely to do it, more than I ever have in my life, and getting opportunities for doing it. And I'm up there fucking with this material that makes people feel emotions. That's a lot. how do you set aside all those pressures and just try to put on a good show? Well, I'm always looking for ways to improve because it is fun for me. I think that's how you know you are, that you have this thing, that you're a creative type or an artist type, or really any kind of person who likes getting work done. When you can see noticeable progress and you get that natural fucking hit of the chemicals in your brain, your reward centers are working. And my reward centers are fucked from years of drug abuse. So when I finally can do something to make the reward centers snap to it, it's very gratifying. And one of the new tactics I've been working on is I listen to the isolated vocals of my father and just try to hear where the inflections would be. And if you can go back and listen to a lot of like Sublime live material, they weren't always firing on all cylinders, man. And that's fine. It's not to say I shouldn't try, but also they never played the self-titled record. My dad passed before they were able to play it. We have no idea how those songs might have been portrayed. They might have been portrayed wildly differently than their recorded album variants, but people only know the album versions.
And when you say Nepo Baby, I do find it so weird that like people would hit you with that title, because the reality of the situation...
I don't really think a lot of people do. I'm just trying to be I don't know why I'm trying to like preempt. I'm getting all defensive about it, but
I understand it. But the reality of the situation is like what you just said is true. Like your dad's tragically passed before he really experienced
success.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. And that's what people don't understand. Like, don't you think I'd rather just have the dad like alive? Like, I'll trade all this, dude. I'd be an English teacher at a heartbeat. If like, I would not be carrying this on had it not been for this horrible tragedy. And don't you think I had a million really close friends who took me aside in the HBO drama moment and like, kid, you don't have to do this. You don't have to have this weight on your shoulders. But no, fuck that. I absolutely do. This is my lot in life. This is my lot in life, and it's not that fucking bad, I have a lot of good people around me, and there's a lot of amazing parts, and the challenges that I get to overcome are gratifying when I do overcome them, and I'm confident that I'm the right person for this fucking job, dude. Never get that twisted.
What have you learned new about your dad since beginning this entire process?
Oh, man, everything, I mean, his whole personality, or at least the personality that he chose to show people in his writing is prevalent in that music. I mean, just listen to it. You could tell he was a person that loved his friends, that the people around him meant a lot. You could tell he was a man who was crazy about his dog.
Do you have any memories of Lou Dog?
Yeah, Lou Dog I got a lot of memories of. Yeah, he was my pet dog all the way up until I was like 3 or 4, maybe 5. I remember having a neighbor kids over and like, do you remember that board game Mousetrap?
Yeah.
And it's got all the silly shit and all the plastic stuff. And when your motor skills are still developing, you're like, I don't know how to fucking set the shit. I just want to play with the weird things. And you're like playing with them and stuff. There was one that kind of looked like a rake or a comb or something. I remember it being like a yellow piece. I guess it's not important to the story. But I was like petting the dog with it. I was fucking with Lou Dog with it or whatever. And he's just like, do anything and he's fine. And then one of the other kids came up and like gently pat him on the head and he like bit them on the head as hard as he could. Like, he was just the most ornery, mean dog to anybody except my dad and then me, because I feel like dogs can like smell
yes.
Yeah, I think that's like a real thing.
Totally.
And we always had this bond, it was just, he was always there. I always remembered him being there.
That's funny. I think there are some stories that like Lou Dog would like run around the venues or whatever, biting fans at the shows.
Yeah, they got kicked off the Warped Tour because Lou Dog don't like skaters. He gets freaked out by the sound of the skateboard.
Any similarities between Lou Dog and Creature?
That couldn't be more different, honestly.
A hairless cat against a Dalmatian?
Exactly right. Yeah, and Creature, it was just the sweetest, kindest creature ever. He'd come up to the door every time I'd come home, just yelling for me. And when I first got him, he would just come up and sit on you and just rub up against your face. As soon as he meets a new person, he just loves you, And he was born with a heart that was too big for this world, with a hole that could never be filled.
Oh.
Fucking heart failure. Unique septic atrial heart defect.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he had this just giant hole in his heart that could not be obstructed via catheter. So it would cause his right side of his heart to swell with fluid. It would leak out into the rest of his body, and he'd bloat to, insane sizes. Poor little fellow was just too good for this world. So
too much love.
Yeah, exactly. But he is survived by his little sister Fluffy, who's also a hairless cat, Fluffy the cat, who I love dearly as well. And his memory lives on. Creature will always be the mascot and logo of my band, Jakobs Castle. Just in the same way Lou Dog is for Sublime.
Very cool. Wait, what were you talking about before you got into Lou Dog?
We were talking about songwriting and, learn what we've learned about my father from his material and that sort of thing. And just to cap off on that before we
Thank you.
go forward is that going through the catalog and spending more time with all his friends around him has crafted this amazing picture in my head and has allowed me to feel a lot closer to my father. And yes, when I am up on stage, I almost do treat it like an acting gig. I try to portray the truth of my father and his friends and family, and I see on the faces of the people that come to the shows that they enjoy it.
You've mentioned drugs a couple times. Knowing the effects drugs had on your family, what made you even want to try it or get into it?
Me and drugs go way back. How much time you got? No, I'm
all
kidding.
day.
Yeah. No, man, they're just pretty great, Pretty sure everybody should try them. Gotta find out what the fuss is all about, right? The worst thing that's gonna happen is you'll die. So
It's pretty bad.
yeah. Just know that that's the risk. You'll probably die even. It's a pretty good chance you'll get addicted and die. So even still, it's important to try such things. I mean, what are you gonna do? Be a pussy your whole life? Like, just kidding. But, no, I'm being facetious. I think it's sort of like this classic, this classic quest all the way from ancient mythology and stuff. I mean, we love, everybody gets all mad about the whole Nepo baby thing or whatever. People fucking are, that's such cap, dude. They love a Nepo baby story. Jesus was a Nepo baby. Fuck Hercules, Simba from The Lion King. It makes people so fascinated because it taps into this inner thing inside of ourselves that if I die before my time, will my DNA carry on my legacy in some way and add to it and continue to pass on? It's so primal, monkey brain human stuff that we fucking love it, dude. And I'm living proof that it is possible. And I want to continue doing that. So had I not experienced drugs, I would not be in the right place to do what I do today, man. And I'm a sober musician too. So I've gone through it and integrated those experiences into my life and walk a different path now. And that being said, I'm still a huge drug advocate. Go out and do more drugs. You'll figure it out, I promise. It's all good.
Or you
Seriously.
don't figure it out, right?
Yeah. What?
Or you don't figure it out.
Or you don't, and you'll fucking die and make everyone you love really sad. But I don't know, man. It's sort of like a zero-sum equation. It just had to be done. There was sort of no two ways around it.
Yeah, do you remember the first time you did drugs?
Hell yeah, dude. It was killer. It was driving back from visiting my father's grave when I was like probably 13, maybe 12. And my parents passed me a joint, which they had many times before, which I had said no. But the reason why they passed me that is not because I don't want anyone out there to think my parents are like bad people or like some people, you could tell if they're really squares because they're just like, your parents exposed you to drugs? Where the fuck do you think they got that idea? Dude, these are, people that were born in 1968, 1969. Like, this might have been the only way that they were able to ever bond with their families where they had nothing and never got along and it was scary and crazy constantly. There's a reason why we pass along these things. They make us feel good and they increase our bonds with the other members of our tribe. You know what I mean? This is something that's very ancient in practice. And when done safely and passed along to the next generation, it has nothing but benefits, in my opinion. And so they were only ever offering me this stuff because they didn't want to be fucking hypocrites. You're never going to sit there and be like, no, this is just what grown-ups do. You cannot know what this is. They waited until I decided that I wanted to. There was never a peer pressure thing. And eventually I did want to try smoking weed, and it made me feel like I was part of something for the first time. Problem is, you run the risk of you might have that addict alcoholic gene. I don't think any drug turns you into an addict or alcoholic.
You can have it.
Yeah. I mean, crack gets pretty close. You're definitely going to want to do more crack when you smoke it. I promise.
There's also to timing, right? Like this idea that you had really just experienced something pretty intense. You went to go visit your dad's gravesite, and then
dude,
to hit a joint driving home from that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you emotionally go through something of that intensity, you're now wired to release with something else.
I remember not feeling too much when I first smoked, but I did kick back, and I remember my dad being like, well, my stepdad, I also call him dad. He was like, you look like fucking Bill Clinton back there. All right, man.
When do you start transit? Like, because that's just a new addiction, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't. Listen, you could lock the fucking tiger up in the basement, but you can't kill him. They stab him with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. Living it up in the Hotel California. Anyway.
It's real.
Yeah, you just can't kill the beast, man. You have to learn to live with it. Much like Naruto Uzumaki makes friends with Kurama, the fox demon inside of him. And it's like this, one of my favorite stories ever. Like, you know, addiction is a fact of life. It just is a fact. Addiction is a sickness and an illness, but in the same way that, you know, you can have a virus that stays in your system, like, you know, that is not active. Like when people have, like, you know, the canker sore breakouts or whatever, they say the virus is still in you, but it's not active. That's what addiction is like. When you relapse and you're going on a fucking bender, you're having like a flare up. You're having an addiction flare up. And then your addiction can go into remission for a while, I think. That's how I always look at it. And part of keeping that in remission is working with it and in tandem. Like I'm still addicted to nicotine and caffeine and video game and sex and sometimes gambling and whores in Ensenada. Nah, just kidding. But I think it's knowing when and when not to be self-destructive.
That's like a muscle, a sense, you know, that's acquired over time, no?
Yeah, you'll never win. Someday you're going to lose the war. You have to have good people around you. The trick is to not isolate. For me, I am an AA guy. That works for me. I'm not an AA Nazi. I'm also not religious in any way. I'm like spiritual, I guess. I'm like a pagan or whatever. Like I fuck with like all the different gods. So shout out to paganism. But no, yeah, you have to have a community around you. That's just the only way. Whether you're an AA person or you find them, I'm sure there's other ways to fucking do it and stay sober and be happy and get your addictions under control. You need to have people to remind you. It's like when Guts puts on the berserker armor and he goes all fuck, he starts burking around, he gets berserk. There's like his little friend, his little witch friend, like pulls the fucking mask away so he can see for just a little bit, and then he can use the powers of the berserker armor without it fully overtaking him, even though he knows one day it's probably going to consume him. So because he's such a fucking sad boy loner, like cheer the fuck up, Guts. What the hell? Anyway, I'm from this comic book called Berserk.
I've seen it. Well, I haven't read it, but isn't there like there's the
best.
It's like a TV show off of it or a film property.
Yeah. They've done films and anime adaptations, and it's I don't think the fans have ever been fully satisfied by any of those, but and you know, rest in peace to Kentaro Miura. He's passed away now, and he's survived by his apprentices who hopefully will carry on his work in his hopes, and that kind of ties back into our main theme of this podcast episode as well. Is that, you know, if you have some sort of great work, maybe you didn't have kids, you hope that there's people around you that understood you and your essence enough to carry on your work. And I think that's what makes Sublime beautiful, is that it's his two fucking best friends up there with this guy's son, you know. Mm-hmm. That's special. That is truly special in my opinion. And I feel proud to get to be a part of that every day.
Has the relationship between the three of you always been solid, or did it go through a rocky stage? I mean, obviously there was a lot to sort through and a lot to figure out. And
totally. No, I don't think it was ever rocky. I wouldn't call it that. There were times when we weren't particularly super involved in each other's lives, but that's because everyone deals with trauma differently, you know?
Totally.
Here you go and you see your buddy's kid and all you can think of is like, fuck, you know, how do I be there for him? And as the guy's kid, you're like, fuck, here's my dad's best friends. How do I seem cool enough to them? You know, how do I seem legit enough? What if they think I'm just some, you know, how much sometimes older generations hate younger generations, like, who's this fucking iPad kid with their broccoli cut hair and their fucking TikTok dances? What do you know of our weird ancient ways?
Real.
And I think that conflict is beautiful. That's the kind of shit I'd be stoked to write about someday. You know, generational trauma and reconciling old with the new and vice versa. It's been fun.
By the way, that's like a big thing you said, is like, it was traumatic for all of you, right? Like obviously for you, but for them too. Like,
and think about how traumatic it was for me. I'm like down here if you're comparing to everyone else. Like I never knew the guy. Growing up with
You were 11
without
months
a
old.
father is its own unique form of trauma. But that's slow burn flambe trauma. You know what I mean? Like
Real.
they had to go through scorched earth. Oh my God, my entire life is different forever trauma.
Yeah,
and they
they're
deal with it to this day.
And their life work. Like they
They were like we
Life
talked
work.
about. They were on the brink of mainstream success,
Yes.
and all of a sudden it's just like, now what?
Now nothing. Well, not nothing. I mean, they kept the torch alive. We would have never had the amazing music of Long Beach to Ball Stars had it not been for this tragedy. That's how forests grow out of burned down fucking pine cones and shit like that. That's the beauty of the cyclical nature of art and nature. So, there is silver linings, but it never is enough to wash away that burn. You will be permanently burned forever, dude. And we can feel it up there on stage. And I think through playing, I've heard my uncle say in interviews, it is healing in a lot of ways. And sometimes they're able to close their eyes and feel like that they're just back there doing it, like how it was back then. And even if I can give them that for a little bit, why wouldn't I do that,
that. Like you think about like they really joined this band for a deeper reason. Yeah, money, success, whatever was a byproduct, but a lot of it was the joy of playing together.
The joy of playing together. That is really it. For them, it didn't matter if they were in front of 10 people or 100,000. In fact, this last Warped Tour set, dude, was actually my favorite Sublime set we've ever done for a lot of reasons. The crowd was huge, but it didn't feel like this overwhelming presence. It kind of felt like we were playing a bar show, if that makes any sense. And then, Sublime in its form now, trying to go back to the roots and trying to honor and exalt everything that made Sublime cool in the first place, it meant taking away like a lot of this glitz and glam. Like, no click tracks or in-ears or pyrotechnics or crazy effects and lighting. We have stuff to make it worth your ticket price. We've got some cool visuals in the background that's evocative.
Bro, it's musicianship.
Yeah, and it's about you come to a Sublime show because you want to see three messy punk rock musicians figure it out. Just trying to figure it out. There was someone up front who yelled something like, he was like, play Wonderwall or something funny like that. And it just felt like a fun ass like bar set. It just felt like we were playing Long Beach.
By the way, you can listen to all the music, which you're making more of, which is
I want to show you guys so bad.
We're still working on getting a guitar. It's in a different room. We're trying to
yeah?
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring a guitar in here. I'll play you one of the ones that is one of my favorites off this new record. Because with Ensenada, like I almost get embarrassed. I shouldn't even get embarrassed. I'm so happy everyone loves it. Thank you so much. We chose this one because it didn't take itself too seriously, but I promise if you look deeper in this song, there is still an emotional throughput of some pain I was going through at the time. But there are other songs that are, the whole album isn't all just fucking hookers and strippers. Okay, it kind of is. But there's some real fucking, there's some real emotional nuance and substance there also. And I'm being facetious,
But by the way, that was an original Sublime record, right? It was that balance of the two worlds coming together.
It was, and we made there's a whole giant notebook called the Skin Bible, where we went through everything Sublime related and the whole canon, and underwent all of the chord progressions, musical accompaniment, when to do skanks and when not to do skanks, what elements of what songs, where the influences came from, and song topics. We made sure that all of our song topics were at least canonical or close enough in some way. So we wouldn't be putting in these lyrics if they didn't appear somewhere else in the Sublime catalog. In fact,
It's so
oftentimes they are lifted straight from unreleased lyrics. So,
It's like it's genius because your dad did create this entire timeless. Let's look at it like a character, right? Like you create a character Bible, and every decision you make as a group is run against this Bible that is built by your dad.
Yes, exactly. We've read it out, and like I would love people to see it one day, but it's super secret. And
That's so smart.
And also stories that they underwent. Like I'm not writing about anything that is outside of the Sublime canon. Like I remember Miguel talked to me about they used to have this like German friend who would come and visit, and he was like, I'm gonna butcher this. Miguel could tell the story way funnier. But the guy comes visit Long Beach, and they're showing around Long Beach and LA, and they're like, Sublime's like in their like 20s or whatever. And the German friend, it's his birthday, and they're like, well, buddy, it's your birthday. You can do anything you want today. He's like, yeah, we can do anything I want. And he's like, yeah, what do you want to do? He's like, yeah, anything. Yeah, so we can get some crack and black hookers, yeah? And fucking Eric was like, you heard the man. And I guess they just fucking, yeah, went and got hookers and smoked a bunch of crack. So fucking, I don't know. This is real shit they did. And then the whole reason Miguel even told me that is because he was warning me that if you're on a crack bender, the only thing that can really get you out of it is you got to huff paint. Something about the shock to the system can just be like, all right, because if left unchecked, cocaine in crack form, in smokable form, you can do a lot more coke than you normally would be able to do. Like, if you're just snorting coke all night, I never understood those motherfuckers who could stay up doing coke for days. I mean, go get speed, go get like a real drug to stay awake. Like, I'll do coke all night and be like, kind of want to go to bed. I'm kind of over it. My nose is kind of stuffed. But if you have crack, you can just keep going. So if you want to stop the bender, I would suggest huff some paint. And that's how they stopped that bender after they lost all their money on the fucking hookers and crack with the German friend.
Any part of you surprised that like your dad and uncle were able to be as productive as they were, consuming as
insanely surprised,
right?
But I mean, maybe their production was a result of their pain or something. I don't know.
Oh, totally.
But at the same time, obviously there was pain. Obviously there was pain from the addiction and just the normal stressors of life and family, blah, blah, blah. But I truly think my father, as I've seen from his work and the stories of his friends, I think he was a true agent of chaos in the fun and loving sense. I think he was like a bacchanal lover of life, like a follower of fucking Pan and the chaos gods, and just out there to purely experience everything he could. And he was a guy who lived life to the fullest. He loved his hobbies and his friends and drinking and hookers and crack. And these are indulgences that, when taken to their logical extreme, can be really bad. But also, no man or woman should be denied the pleasures of this earth.
On that topic, you talked about the safe way and unsafe way of consuming drugs and being exposed to drugs. What part of your experience was unsafe?
Well, definitely harm reduction was not the biggest part of the conversation it was before. And it's a complicated issue, but it's one that's very close to my heart. Now, you can look at some places that have legalized most drugs and see positive benefits.
Amsterdam.
And then you can Amsterdam. And then you can see places where maybe it hasn't gone so good, in like Portland or San Francisco, and people there. Everybody's got their own opinion about how to do it or how not to do it or whatever. My main fact is you're not going to get rid of people who want to try and do drugs. Take it from me. That's not going anywhere. We have to live in concert with this somehow. I got my own ideas of what that looks like that I don't really go into here because we'll be here all day. But I will say that harm reduction is a good start. You got to have Narcan on hand.
100%.
And the other unfun thing, when you first got the conversation from like either dad or an older male role model, and they were like, kid, you got to wear condoms. No one wants to do it. No one wants to sit there for the party. And I just got this fucking bag. Let's fucking do a line. Like, whoa, actually, we should test our substances. You got to test your substances, guys. Just... You don't want to be the person that got a bad bag because you trusted fucking Randall, and Randall would never sell me bad coke. Like, he didn't know. It might have fentanyl in it. Be fucking careful. So I think we are now maturing as a culture. I think in the 90s, it was sort of the first time we really understood the dangers of opiates and how quickly they could kill you. We got fucking Train Spotting and Kurt Cobain. And my dad's a huge contributor to... whether people know it or not even. He's a huge contributor to what we think about collectively with drugs and stuff. It's pretty dark and macabre, but his death is sort of what catapulted Sublime's catalog into mainstream success and awareness. Back then, Tragedy sold, and it's sad because you can look at things uncharitably and think, man, all the other people profiting off of this just fucking sucks. But then you start thinking, well, how are we really that different? So you need to find ways to keep yourself going, and you need to make it positive. And so I always try to bring people together. I always try to honor the people who are no longer there with us when I'm up there playing shows. And when I can, I try to hopefully raise some awareness, or at least even start a conversation and comment on it, is that there are ways to, enjoy safely, and there are ways to stop safely. And when it's time to stop, you need to fucking stop.
Does any part of you wish you heeded the cautionary tale that was you were living in and not try drugs?
Fuck no. No way. Really? I'd be lying, dude. It's just not good. I mean, how useful is a lie? Let's start there. How useful would it be to lie? Well, I've had friends who are bodybuilders, one of my hobbies that I'm interested in, who are roided up to the gills on a fucking hot stacker every fucking, just Deca and Tren and D-Ball, all the good stuff. But they lie and say they're natty because they say, well, the reason why I lie, well, one, it's, there's obvious reason why you lie. But no, they say what gets them to sleep at night is they say the reason why I say I'm natty is because when other young bodybuilders are doing this, I want them to know that it is possible to reach my physique naturally, that it is still possible and it's worth trying to go natty. So I lie about it. So I could lie here now and say, folks, truth be told, I just wish I never done the things, it's just not worth the trouble. But that would be a fucking lie. And maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe it's better to lie sometimes. But I will tell you right now, what I have learned from doing drugs, the memories I have made, the person it has molded me into, and the life I've gained from being sober, I'd rather be a sober drug addict than a guy who never tried drugs.
Powerful. Thanks for your honesty.
All I got is honesty. Hardworking girls always come on to me.
Did Lana Del Rey's Doing Time, not really cover, is it a full-on cover?
I guess so.
How did that have any effect on almost like a resurgence of Sublime?
I think so, because I think it kind of went TikTok viral. Yeah, I think a lot of kids, at least it started a big discussion like, oh my God, I can't believe these kids don't even know where the original song came from. And then people start typing all fucking angry and stuff. And that's the kind of discourse that you want, I guess.
How many Sublime songs are done right now?
From the record?
Yeah, for the
the record's done. It just needs to be mastered.
So 18 songs.
18 tracks, yeah, that's including interludes. Minus the interludes, I guess it was 14, 15 real new songs to listen to. But the interludes are pretty much their own song. I wish you guys just hear it already. Maybe I should just leak it.
How'd you know the album was done?
I just listened to it the other day. That's how I knew.
No, but there was no need to write more.
Yeah, we weren't sure actually until I listened to it a couple days ago. Literally, we weren't sure if we had to add more or whatever. And there was a whole batch of songs that we wrote with. It got out there in the media a lot, and I want to be careful around the subject because things get so confused when people get into rooms, then it gets sensationalized. But we did. Me and my friend Zano went in and wrote some songs with Travis Barker and our friend Travis Barker and our friend John Feldman. Fucking love those dudes. Amazing writers. We wrote some awesome songs. Now, those could become Sublime songs one day, but they weren't part of this batch of material. This album, which is called Till the Sun Explodes, Till the Sun Explodes is just me, John Joseph, Zano Vandevort, Bud Gaugh, and Eric Wilson. That was the writing team.
That's the crew.
And obviously, Dougie came in, our DJ Product came in and spun. Trey came in. There's even a song called Trey's Song on there. And he wrote that one, or brought it to the table at least, and we all worked on it. So yeah, dude, it's all it's all in house. It had to be people, and I brought in my friends, but that's only to keep the spirit alive of my dad was just the reason why he was able to write so good is because he was feeling comfortable around his two best friends in the world, and that's what I had to have there too. And these are two kids that grew up with Sublime all around them, in Long Beach, California, in Los Angeles, California, in these places where it was important to them and their family. So for them to get a chance to work on it and for me to get a chance to offer that opportunity to people who deserve it, talented musicians and producers, take it every time.
Yeah, safety matters.
Yeah.
It's how you're vulnerable, and it clearly worked.
And it's not about getting these giant names. That's where for the first thing you want to release, I didn't want it to be that's very Nepo-y in my head. He writes a Sublime record and he jumps in with the two biggest possible names and product. It's I love those dudes and they're so talented and we have fun and it's not their fault that people consider them like that and stuff like that. That's almost not fair to them. But I would rather work with them in other projects in the future, like maybe Jakobs Castle, or maybe we do a small short run of an EP of unreleased Sublime demos that we did with them just for fun. To me, I really want Till the Sun Blows Up to be, or Till the Sun Explodes, whatever this fucking record's called. I want this to be called, or I want this to be the last thing that Sublime puts out, or the last full-length LP Sublime puts out. There's always going to be little stuff to keep a catalog band alive. But to me, I want to push this record really hard and all its singles, and I want next year to be busy as hell. But then the years following, I want to slowly start, I don't think Sublime should ever stop playing shows, but I'd rather it get to a point in the next couple years where we're really only playing one or two big shows a year. If Coachella asks us to come up, cool, you see a catalog 90s band there. If Warped Tour asks us to do a one-off in Long Beach, cool, we play locally for all of our fans, or a secret show for the fans and friends. That's where I see Sublime living. And then, my band, Jakobs Castle, and the bands in my record label, Sunburnt Records, I want that next generation to be the people to carry on the spirit and the sound of Southern California West Coast alternative music as started by Sublime. and Skunk Records.
So that's the
next step.
The goal is to have a record label with many people carrying the torch.
Yes, exactly. And to really have them be
Awesome.
that, like, oh my God, this not only reminds me of Sublime, but it's so new and different. I want to push that and really create a name for artists. And it doesn't have to be as big as the fucking Beatles. We're not doing this for fame and fortune. We're doing this because it is what we know how to do. And there are stories that need to be told about the area that we've all grown up in. I kind of look at it, a big influence for me is the Suicide Boys and Grey 5'9", their whole independent label. I mean, just two dudes who started just like me and my buddy Zane. So, and they remain independent, and we're somehow able to do it just from, they just worked so hard, man. So that's where when I'm at home and I'm not doing anything, I have a really hard time nowadays just sitting, and if I'm not doing anything or I'm playing a video game or watching a TV show or fucking banging, I just feel like a piece of shit. I feel like a piece of shit. Like I should be making phone calls. I should be advancing the cause. If not me, then who else?
Well,
So
the reality is, yeah, that's true. Like, if not you, then who else? But you do need both life to fuel working hard, and
that fucking finger trap, man. Like if I keep pulling, I'm not gonna be able. You can't spread too thin. You also need to recharge those batteries.
Biopic, is that actually happening?
Well, it's tough with movies and stuff. They get greenlit and then they get dropped, and then someone has interest and someone loses interest, and then a new person maybe has interest. So I'm trying to do everything to make that thing happen. I think it would be awesome to have a Sublime biopic. If it was cool, it was the right vibe, it wasn't cringy, if it had sort of like a cool artsy feel, like the Sid and Nancy movie, but not new age artsy to where it feels like you're trying to capitalize on some late like Euphoria type of hype and just only aim towards the kids. You gotta focus on being your own movie and not try to appeal to any audience. I think it's just telling an interesting version of the Sublime story that everyone in our camp wants to go, picture perfect accuracy, but everyone has a different version of what happened in the story. I want it to be based on the accurate events, but more about being glorifying and exemplifying the interesting story of what it was like. Almost like a movie with no plot. That's what I would like to see. And it would require us working in tandem very closely with the vision of a writer and director. But what I don't want it to be is fun young band. What? Drugs? Drugs are sad. Death. But the family after. Like, that just is so played out and done. I'd rather have it just be like this fun movie about all the fun shit they did and leave it kind of artsy and open-ended, and then the very last shot is like my dad walking away into the sun with his dog or something. That's a little corny, but you know what I mean? That idea though, like we can sort of hint at the drug stuff, but I don't think that a Sublime biopic needs to be that. We have the documentary for that.
But the documentary, it hasn't come out yet, right?
We've done documentaries. Who cares,
There's a lot.
there's been a few, right?
Well, there was one in 2019, and then there's another one coming, right? Or is that the same one?
There was Stories, Tales, Lies, and Exaggerations. I think there might be a documentary in the future, and there might be a biopic in the future. It's still too up in the air to say. But that guy, KJ Apa, I don't know how you say it. I love that dude. He and I have been chatting. I would definitely pick him to portray the role of my father. That guy rocks.
That's huge.
He's the right age for it. He's got a good look too with the shaved head, and he can play guitar and stuff like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Are you the executor of the estate?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
That's crazy. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it is for sure. It wasn't always that way.
Yeah, when did you take on that role?
25.
Wow.
But the role, just like in a lot of medieval, scions of a noble household, coming into your seat of power is oftentimes fraught with difficulty and tribulations. You watch Disney movies and the evil advisor hunching over the king like, yes, my king, they seek to usurp your power.
That shit's real.
That really happens. That's based on, we like to think we're not in medieval times still, but we have not advanced beyond a society. There are still kings and queens and consorts and evil advisors and wizards and shit out there. Like, don't just take it from the fucking acid-addicted fucking burnout dude. I promise you it's real. And you'll see it, and it's just they've taken on new faces and new coats of paint. So getting to a place where I was able to fully be in control of all this thing and have it under my thumb was difficult trial and tribulations, to say the least. So without the help of my mentor and father figure, Kevin Zinger, someone who was a close personal friend of my father, I just wouldn't be here doing this, man. Kevin Zinger, man. And he's still, I just talked to him last night. He's still a guy I can call whenever and talk about relationship issues or my cat or just family stuff. He's family, man. He's family, and it has to be family. you got to find people out there who are actually got your best interests at heart, are willing to look out for you. And unfortunately, that don't really exist, which is why Kevin Zinger is such a fucking anomaly.
Is he who you take over the estate from, or is...
No, he helped me get it into the right hands, though.
Who had it?
Well, these is all very delicate subject matter, you know? More delicate than if we were talking about pornography even.
Fine.
And no, you don't have anything to be sorry about. I mean, people are curious about this stuff, but no matter how I explain it or portray it, it will not be satisfactory. Someone will always take what I'm going to say out of context, and they'll believe that the story of how things got to where they are is this or that or whatever. I will say that that's almost not important, or asking the wrong questions. What is important now is that, yes, the estate, Sublime, everything is all under my central control. And, of course, Bud and Eric, too. So as long as the three of us are in unity and harmony, that's awesome. That being said, whatever they choose to do with Sublime, I would always bow to them. It's their band. It's just not my band. My job is to keep the legacy and image and dream and that part alive in a way that is authentic and meaningful to the fans that have an emotional attachment to it. So I will always fight for that.
But then how do you view the new songs you're making? Are they not yours?
I almost view them as not mine, yeah. But yeah, it was a sacrifice, a labor. I don't know. Sort of tough, right?
But your life comes through in those records.
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
way your dad's did.
Yeah. I think when people hear this, you'll hear a lot of me on there. They could not have been done without Bud and Eric's blessing. In fact, this album's the thing I'm most proud of musically that I've ever done so far. I think the next Jakobs Castle record, I'll also be equally or more proud of that.
I mean, dude, you level up as a musician.
I've completely leveled up as a musician
Holy
through
shit.
the act of doing this. In fact, I challenge everyone. I feel like when I do interviews or whatever, I'm always thinking about the other young artists out there, because who else would really be that interested to watch besides hardcore fans? I, as a young fan, would just pour through the interviews of my favorite artists just to try to like soak in a little bit of like, what's their process? What's the trick? What's the secret sauce or whatever? So, and there's so many little nuggets you can take out of that. Oftentimes they'd say one offhanded thing and I would just pause the video and be off to the races and start writing because it was so inspiring or whatever. But I will say I'd challenge writers out there, just write something that's completely not in your style. Pretend like you got a gig to join Sublime and write a Sublime record. Pretend that you got a gig to join the band of your favorite band. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you probably like Sublime a lot. But let's say your favorite band is Tool. Write the best damn Tool record you can. Maybe never show anybody or ever release it, but through that challenge of having to honestly and earnestly fit into a role, I discovered so much more about me as a songwriter and an entertainer, and I was able to push my voice in different directions to be able to do things I never thought I could. So now going back, I mean, before I finished the Sublime record, I had a whole Jakobs Castle record finished that I was sitting on, and now, I mean, I almost don't want to say this because I do have a small contingent. I have a cult following of my Jakobs Castle fans out there too, but we're going to scrap it now and kind of rewrite everything from the ground up, because now I'm like, no, this is so... The thing I guess I've sort of been burying the lead this whole interview. I love the sound of Sublime. Like, I love it. They're going through the catalog. The thing that was most unexpected I've discovered is that I've become a humongous fan. It's such fun. It's like the best music ever. Like, go and watch me performing at Warped Tour. The very last song we played, Santeria, at the very end, I'm just like, this is the best song ever written, dude. And I mean that. I can't believe that I get to be related to and involved with such an amazing, cool sound and legacy. So yes, I think the next Jakobs Castle record, while it's not going to be, I'm not going to just try to write Sublime again. I really like electronic elements, and I like my influences with Jakobs Castle being Gorillaz, Outkast, Nine Inch Nails, fucking Beck, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But again, everything I just mentioned there is pretty much the same era as Sublime. So what I'm interested in making is cool, eclectic, 90s, early 2000s inspired West Coast alternative music, I guess is what I'd call it. Sort of a big fucking loaded genre title. But yeah, there will be some more skank guitars for sure. And some more punk rock moments. And more of the feeling of it being a band. But you got to have, if it's Jakobs Castle, you got to have the fruity little synths and the fucking super catchy melodies. I love that shit.
I love Jakobs Castle.
That means a lot, man. Thank you. I think it all is one harmonious thing,
You can listen
everything I do.
Listen to both of it. All of it's waiting for you. It's on Amazon Music. There's a link below.
It is on Amazon Music. Go check it out.
How you feeling over there, Daniel?
We've been working hard over here to get the guitar, but the room's being used and we can't get in there.
I see. It's
Oh,
maybe the gods do not will it today. I think I have a guitar in my car. No, I think it's missing a string. Well, whatever.
Please come back when the album comes out, though. When is it coming?
Yeah, let's set up another thing because I'd love to. And a lot of these songs we play live with Jakobs Castle. We tease them because me and my friends secretly wrote them, you know what I mean? Like, or had a large hand in it because we're just so excited. So come to a Jakobs Castle show and I promise you'll hear some of the new Sublime material performed with just a bunch of friends, like the way you should hear it. Come out to a Strange Case show. See them playing the song. They just played with the Buttertones, and we brought Zach from Fiddler up, and we played a new Sublime song called Backwards. The first time this new Sublime song has ever been played live with Zach from Fiddler, who wrote the song with us. Come out and see 8 Ball, our boys from Orange County, who go and play what I consider to be the closest approximation of the Sublime sound and spirit that I've heard today.
Is it weird performing those songs?
Our boy
without-
Shuss, check out Somehow Unseen. They're also on Amazon Music.
Is it weird playing those songs without Eric and Bud?
No. It's weirder to play it with them because I'm so nervous because I want them to love me so much. No, because we have the blessing. You know what I mean? Like, that's like asking, is it weird for a Long Beach Ball Stars to play without Bud and Eric? It's yes and no, but you'll hear it on this record that none of us expected this band to get as big as it could or to get as big as it did, but it'll never be bigger than you. My father, Bradley Nowell. It'll never be bigger than that.
Why did you release a cover of Garden Grove as Jakobs Castle?
Oh, we've been sitting on that one for years. It's crazy when you think about it. Kind of like when that artist Doechii released that song that
Anxiety?
used the Anxiety, like, and it was using the, why can't I think of the name? Gautier?
Yeah.
Gautier.
Whatever it is.
And Goatsee's something different. But anyways, yeah, it's like the artist has been sitting on that for forever, but it just made sense to release it then and there. We were doing this, covers record, and I'm like, well, I had a Jakobs Castle covered. I actually had only done the vocal. I wish I could have got a chance to redo the vocals. The vocals on that cover song are scratch vocals. What I wanted was to have a good backing track to use for Jakobs Castle back when for a while we were using backing tracks pretty heavily because we're very we're going through like our glitch pop era. And so I was always running backing tracks with this computer, and I wanted to have a cool Jakobs Castle version, like the Castle style of Sublime songs. So we had backing tracks of Garden Grove and April 29th, I think, one more maybe as well. So somehow that got into the mix, and then it just got released, and I was like, all right, whatever. And it was a chance to boost up my buddy Zano from Strange Case and Jesse James Pariah as well, because they had a song, a cover of Eben that got put on the same single release for Garden Grove. So it was cool, man. I'm so happy it's out there. People got to hear about what I would do because I co-produce all of my work with John Joseph, my producer for my song. So I wanted them to hear how I'd produce like a Castle version of a Castle cover of a Sublime song.
Way different than how you'd approach writing an original Sublime record.
Yeah, very different. And dude, sense writing, I mean, it's almost like it's all I can write now. Like I have so much more I still want to do. Like you just grab the guitar and it's just like writing Sublime is so much fun because it's so just like messy and you just.
By the way, listen to it. It's all waiting for you. Amazon Music. You good?
Till the Sun Explodes. Check it out. It's gonna be awesome.
But is there a date?
Probably next year. I was hoping later this year, but it'll probably be I'm hoping January, February next year. Hopefully no later than that. But yeah, dude, I'm so excited for people to hear this. So fucking excited. Until then, I think we're gonna try to put out a bunch of Jakobs Castle singles this year. We're doing everything in tandem.
You live very free, dude. You live
I try
like
to,
there's
man.
no rules. It's rather something.
Because there is none.
Well, there are some.
Well, there's some rules don't hit nobody unless they deserve it.
Yeah. I'm also
wait, here.
You gonna play something?
Yeah, let me see if.
Are you calling someone?
Yeah. Come on, pick up.
What's up, baby?
What's up, Diller?
Just slaving away at regime.
Pulling on your weird little wiener?
Dude, kinda.
It's not weird or little. Say hi, you're on a podcast.
Dude, podcast.
Hi.
Yo, what's up?
Little wiener.
Can you hear them?
Hello.
No, I can't. Hello?
Yo,
What do you have to say about this record, Zano?
direct was just stuck in my head. This dance, this break on the shore. What are you saying?
This town, this break on the shore, only this town, don't love you no more. Yeah, I was gonna play him a song off the record.
Good.
Yeah, this is Zano. He and I wrote the songs together with John and my uncles. And this is a picture of him wearing a little crown at the airport. I'm not gonna tell you guys why he was wearing that, but he was having a tough time. He was all sad in the airport.
This is really fun. This is awesome.
Okay, get back to work, buddy.
Bye,
Love you.
Zano. Listen to all
He's
the
so
music.
pissed.
There's a link below. Also, catch him on tour. Seriously, Jakobs Castle. We'll put a link if you want to grab the tickets. We good?
Let's see.
You keep calling it Jakob Castles.
What?
You keep
Jacob.
Jakobs
Castle.
Jakobs Castle. Fuck.
Yeah, same thing.
That's not.
Yeah, I've heard you say earlier, like, how many times people have said your last name wrong.
Oh yeah, Noel.
But yeah. I mean, for the longest time, I thought it was Bradley Nowell. I thought that's how you said your
It
dad's
might as
name.
well be. It's like some stupid British name. Like British can't decide how to pronounce anything.
No.
It's Noel, I guess, but it makes my life so difficult. They come in and they'll be like, "Oh, last name?" I'll be like, "It's Noel, but Nowell," and they're like, "A KNW," and like, no, and it's Jacob, but Jacob with a K, and they'll be like, "Okay, Jackob," and I'm like, "No, not Jack." Fuck, it's always like that. But the song he was talking about, really quick, I wanted to see if it'll play. It'll sound. That's just Bud's drums. And we started with just this trumpet sample. Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I want more.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's
It's just a little
great.
snippet, and there's just so many cool little parts like that. Like the one I was gonna play on guitar. Sometimes when I'm asleep, I don't know why you're in my head. And then it's a half step. And I can't like why? Every night and then another half step. Hoping that you disappear from me when I'm awake, but I can't miss you, babe. Yeah, and the whole band comes in all like.
Yeah.
And there's also crazy punk rock songs on there too. It's not all that kind of stuff, but
Again, like
That sounded really good.
thank you. Yeah. And you know it's gonna sound shitty coming through your fucking phone speakers right now, but or wherever you're listening to this to, but I promise it'll sound really rad when you listen to it fully. Amazon Music style.
link below. Thank you for your time and energy
Thank
today.
you guys for having me. Thanks for the little sneak peek shout out at the end.
Are you kidding?
Thanks for letting my boy Zane say hi.
Anytime.
And I love you guys. Let's do this again when the record comes out.
Yeah.
Our couch is always here. Jake Knoll, everybody.